Hello everyone. Dear students, during this video we will cover chapter number 2 from our first book Hornbill. The name of the chapter is We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. And this story is written by Gordon Cook and Alan East. So let's be familiar with the authors. Gordon Cook, who was born on 3rd December 1978 in Toronto, is a two-time Canadian Olympic sailor. He sails for the Royal Canadian Yacht Club. He is the son of Stephen Cook, and he is a graduate of the engineering physics program at Queen's University. And he had great interest in writing stories. Now, Alan East, he was a litigator, manager, and legal trainer. He is a co founder of a multi academy trust, Central Academies Trust, which has as its aim improving standards in secondary education. Main characters of the story: Gordon Cook, a 37-year-old businessman, Mary, Gordon Cook's wife, Suzanne, his 7-year-old daughter, Jonathan, his 6-year-old son, crewman, American Larry Wiesel, and Swiss Herb Sigler. The boat Wave Walker, that was 23 meters lengthy, and its weight was 30 ton. Introduction of the story: the story We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together shows extreme courage and skills exhibited by Gordon Cook, his family, and crewmen in a war with water and waves for their survival. Gordon Cook wanted to duplicate that sail that was done by Captain James Cook 200 years earlier. So, in this picture, in map, you can see that a red line is there. So that was the path, that was the passage which was followed by Captain James Cook in order to complete his voyage. And Captain James Cook was a British explorer, navigator, cartographer, and captain in the British Royal Navy. The story is a first person account of the narrator Gordon Cook. So these are the pictures of Gordon Cook's family, parts of the ship, purpose of the voyage. We actually know that he wanted to duplicate, he wanted to copy that voyage that was done or that was made by Captain James Cook 200 years earlier. Preparation for the voyage: for the past 16 years, the narrator and his wife had been spending their leisure time honing their seafaring skills in British waters. They had arranged a professionally built boat, Wave Walker. The narrator and his wife had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather they could find. First leg of the voyage: in July 1976, the narrator, his wife Mary, son Jonathan, and daughter Suzanne set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. They took the voyage in their professionally built ship, the Waywalker. The first leg of their planned 3 year, 1 lakh 500 kilometers journey passed pleasantly as they sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Before heading east, they took two experienced sailors, Larry Wiesel, an American, and Swiss Herb Sigler, with them to tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the southern Indian Ocean. Beginning of the trouble. Second day out of Cape Town, they entered strong gales, which continued for the next few days. The narrator was not worried about the gale, but the size of the waves, which were rising high 15 meters. On December 25th, they reached 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. The weather was really unpleasant and atrocious. Despite that bad weather, had a wonderful holiday with a Christmas tree. Weather continued to worsen. They were enjoying, they had a wonderful holiday with a Christmas tree, but the weather was getting worse and worse. Journey. And now the first calamity during their journey on 2nd January. The condition worsened, waves became gigantic, and the winds were screaming. They were sailing with only a small jib. They were still making 8 knots. They faced enormous waves. To slow the boat, they dropped jib, went through life raft drills, attached lifelines, donned oilskins and life jackets. It means when they faced that calamity, they all get themselves ready to face that. They attached their lifelines, they wore waterproof clothes and life jackets, etc. Waited in apprehension of the approaching storm, because it was clear in their mind that the weather will get worse and worse. Impending disaster. The first indication came around 6 p.m. with ominous silence. The wind dropped, the sky grew dark. They were approached by a cloud like wave. The thunderous explosion shook the deck. The deck or the ship was badly shaken by the gales or by the waves. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. The author's head smashed into the wheel. He was flying overboard and sinking below the waves. As you can see in last PPT, that the waves were rising high over the ship or the boat, and the writer was, or the narrator was sinking below the waves. He almost lost his consciousness and accepted his approaching death. The narrator's head popped out of the water due to the force of the waves. Waywalker was near capsizing. Mast was almost horizontal. He saw Waywalker to be on the verge of overturning when another huge wave turned it upright again. his life jacket taut. He grabbed the guard rails of the boat and sailed into the main boom of the boat. The waves that were pouring inside the waves that were pouring inside were so powerful that he got tossed around the deck like a rag doll. His left ribs cracked, his teeth were broken, his mouth was filled with blood. He somehow found the wheel, lined up the next wave, and was fully determined to face the next wave. There was water all around, and the narrator was anxious that it had filled the lower part of the ship. He did not dare to leave the wheel to examine the damaged parts. Mary shouted that the decks were broken and they were sinking. The narrator asked Mary to take charge of the wheel, and he rushed outside and saw that Larry and Herb were pumping water out frantically. Both Larry and Herb, they were trying to get the water out from the boat. A lot of things were floating noisily around because of excessive water, because everywhere there was water. The narrator was panicky and struggled through water to his children's cabin to check whether they are safe or not. The children are safe. They were safe and had settled on the upper bunk of the bed. Sue had a big bump above her eyes, but she did not create fuss about all that because she did not want to worry her parents. She left he left the children's cabin as his chief concern was to save the wave walker. The starboard side was struck open, because of which they were taking more water. The narrator realized that if he did not make some repairs urgently, the boat would sink. He managed to cover the gaping holes with canvas and waterproof hatchet covers. He could finally prevent the water from seeping in. The hand pumps the hand pumps started to block up with the debris floating around. The electric pump short circuited and the water level rose threateningly. The spare hand pumps had wrenched overboard a long forestaysail, the jib, the dinghies, and the main anchor from the deck. Dinghies means small boats. He was lucky enough to get two more working electric pumps. The narrator was lucky that he got two spare electric pumps there. They tried to get connected to Mayday calls, but all in vain because they were far away from the mainland. Actually, the narrator and crewmen and all the family members, they tried to get connected, or they wanted to just send a signal or a message, but they were far away from the mainland. It was not possible for them to convey the message. The courageous Sue's head had swollen alarmingly, She had two enormous black eyes. She also had a deep cut on her arm. She didn't inform her parents about her injury as she knew that her father was attending to the more serious issue, saving Wave Walker and the life of all on board. So, this way, all the family members, the narrator, his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, his daughter Suzanne, and the crewmen all showed courage and bravery during their journey. And they fought bravely against those dangerous or enormous gales or waves, and with their hope or with their optimistic attitude, they got success. And now, the message of the story. The inspiring story teaches us importance of endurance, impact of optimism in one's life, role of family. Age is just a number. So this is a message of the story, that we have to bear a lot of problems, we have to endure, we have to face a lot of problems if we want to do something great. And if we are optimistic, very easily we can complete our task, assigned task. And in our success, the family or the support of family plays a key and a crucial role in our success, and age does not matter. So in this story, the narrator drives home the message that optimism, strong willpower, grit, determination, and the strong support of the family can help one come out of any disastrous situation with success and enriching experience. So, now vocabulary, and I hope that these difficult expressions or words or this vocabulary definitely help you to comprehend the story. So that was all about the story. Just do read the story twice and thrice. And thank you so much.